Hey, well, World Entertainment, and in the age-old ways of attack the audience before your product comes out, Rings of Power, once again, are attacking the fan base before the second season comes out. They did it before with season 1, when they start saying, oh, all the racists and bigots and stuff because we have black elves and black female dwarfs and all this. They just did it through variety. This time, they're doing it through GQ. Yeah, they're going that route, and they're doing it again. And it's hilarious with what you hear with this. And just, there's a lot in here to kind of say, press an extra doubt on this one. It's a massive article, but we're not going to go over all of it. We're going to go over this small part of it, which includes Disa, none other than Sophia Nomvet, and a little bit of what Dumb and Dumber, Patrick McKay and what's his name, Pine, say, or Payne, whatever. So it says, so this is them talking about it coming to the UK to film, and you just hear where it starts. We'll start from here. So it says, the move gave season 2 access to the landscape which inspired Tolkien's creation of Middle-earth. We're shooting in Windsor Great Park with trees that are 1,000 years old that he might well have looked at and written about, says McKay. It's a different landscape, a different weather pattern, and all of that feeds into the kind of Middle-earth that is even closer to the one that readers might imagine in the books. Until you get the skin colour, I suppose, and whatnot, seeing as you've changed all of that and said it has to reflect the whole world. Yet you've literally just said there, it was reflecting Britain. That's the whole idea of that sentence. It also gave the production usage of the historic Bray Studios, a sprawling complex of sound stages and workshops taking up 10 square miles next to the River Thames. Walk into the... And they go on and on and on and on about that. And he says this, or gets to this. We started off on Game of Thrones, which was huge, he says, referring to his wife and makeup partner Sarah. Well, as much as we thought until we started on this. So they're talking about other people that worked on other crap and blah blah blah. Ah yes, that other fantasy show. Payne and McKay played down any sense of rivalry. We're focused on our own side of the street, says McKay. But it no doubt exists. Just take the A4 sign hung up on the wall of the soundstage, which features a photo of Game of Thrones' most infamous mistake, the time someone left a coffee cup in shot. We don't want to end up like this lot, it warns. Keep rubbish away from set. And then there is recent spin-off House of the Dragon. Much like the Rings of Power, it is a prequel series based on the original author's histories of the fictional world. As much like Rings of Power, and much like the Rings of Power, it has taken the relatively radical decision to cast actors of colour in principal roles. A breakaway from the white-dominated image of Game of Thrones and the Lord of the Rings. So, this article already is calling out Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, as well as the book. So they're calling out Tolkien and George R.R. Martin, which is hilarious. Not as hilarious as we get to hear. It is a genre that was closed to me before, says British actor, I don't know why it doesn't say actress, Sophia Nomvet, who plays the dwarf princess Disa. Get ready for this. Growing up, there was nobody that looked like me in the front and center of fantasy. I have a 4-year-old daughter. She was watching a Disney program the other day and she said, get this, Mama, I wish I was white because then I would look like this character. But what was so fantastic about this time, which is not what my mother was able to do, is that I was able to go, but you can be this character. Let me show you these 10 other examples. The importance of it is monumental. Holy shit. Press X to doubt, people. This woman's 4-year-old child apparently turned around to her watching some show and said, I want to be white so I can look like that character. Yeah, I'm pressing X to doubt. Do you think there's little white kids out there that are like 3 and 4 years of age that are, I don't know, maybe watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something and saying, Mommy, I want to be black so I can look like him? No, that's not happening. As for this dumb bint saying she grew up where those doors were closed to her, where she wasn't being able to be a part of fantasy or sci-fi or anything. That's really weird, because she's only 34 years of age. She was only born in 1990, and she's trying to tell us that no one on the screen looked like her. Really? When you had movies like Vampire in Brooklyn that came out in 95, you know, with Eddie Murphy as a vampire, as Dracula. What about The Sixth Man that came out in 97 with the Wayne brothers, where one of them dies? They're the basketball players. It's actually a good movie with them too. What about Blackula that came out in 1972? What about The Nutty Professor and The Nutty Professor 2 that came out in 96 and 2000? What about Meteor Man that came out in 93? What about Blackenstein that came out in 73? You know where we're going here? How about a movie that, you know, we may as well throw it in there, but I grew up liking this movie, and then it turns out what a piece of human trash the actor is. Ghost Dad, that came out in 1990, starring none other than Bill Cosby. Oh no. Like, all of this type of stuff. What about Space Jam, for Christ's sake? The original Space Jam, that is. What about The Preacher's Wife in 96? You know, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. But they want to sit here and play victim all over again. A 34-year-old, someone who was born in 1990, is sitting there saying, there was no one who looked like me, and my mammy couldn't tell me that I could be any of these characters. And here's the thing, she's telling her child, her 4-year-old child, that she can be that character, but not the way you think. It's not, well, of course you can be that character. You can be anyone you want to be. You can aspire to be like Superman or be like Frodo or whatever. You can. It's called using your imagination. No, she's talking about you can because we're just changing it to be black now. What kind of message is that? And what's she going to do when it stops happening? Then what's she going to do? But it continues anyway with this crap, because this is where you also get the whole let's attack fans. When the Rings of Power's cast was announced, a racist backlash followed, which led to the cast being diluted with threats, harassment, and abuse. It was really hard, says Novette, recalling the period. It was really, really hard, in fact. It was a little bit of a shock because I had skipped into this role with excitement and naively didn't expect it. The vitriol became so extreme that Elijah Wood, Shane Austen, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan, who played hobbits in Peter Jackson's trilogy, banded together for a campaign called You Are All Welcome Here. There was also a statement from the Rings of Power cast themselves, which stated that our world has never been all white, fantasy has never been all white, Middle Earth is not all white, BIPOC belong in Middle Earth, and they are here to stay. The attacks came in droves, says Novette, but I am honoured to be in the battlefield. I wear those scars with pride. So you're shocked, you're saying it's horrible, yous all had to band together, but then you say you're glad you were in the fight and you're proud to wear the scars. What scars? No, seriously, what scars? You'd swear this thing like absolutely destroyed these people, when clearly they didn't. Was there people of colour, black people, in Lord of the Rings? There absolutely was. Did the characters show up in the books that were black? They absolutely did. Did the showrunners and actors portray the characters that were described as being those people in the show? They absolutely did not. No, instead, you ignored those characters and you invented new characters and put them in there. A black elf. Oh my god, look, we have a black elf. First time ever to be seen a black elf. So rare this phenomenon seems to be that there was only one of them in the entire show. One. A black female dwarf. What was the main argument about her? Do you remember what the argument was? It wasn't just that she was black because there shouldn't be black elves. Or sorry, dwarves. Do you remember what the actual argument was about her? There was two things. One is what she was saying and the other was what we could physically see. Do you remember? I'll remind you. The number one argument people had was, why is she got no beard? That was the first argument. It wasn't why is she black. It was why is she not got a beard? And the second thing was that she was prancing about saying she was the first ever seen female dwarf on screen, when she absolutely 100% was not. And we continue as well with this. McKay and Payne are reluctant to be drawn into negativity. The internet does breed some toxic behavior, says Payne. We're not even going to justify it with a response. Yet you saying it breeds toxic behavior is a response. So you have just responded. And it says this kind of definitive shutdown is not uncommon for the showrunners. They are friendly and polite, but they are not pushovers. At one point, I asked about the involvement of Amazon CEO and Tolkien obsessive Jeff Bezos. According to Brad Stone's 2021 book, Amazon Unbound, the billionaire has a penchant for micromanaging Amazon's TV projects. He is even said to have 12 rules that every successful TV show should follow, including a heroic protagonist who experiences growth and change. Has he been in touch with any notes? So this is interesting. This is them asking, does Bezos give you notes? Does he tell you what to do? The interesting thing is, I assume these 12 rules don't apply to Rings of Power because it wasn't successful. Even though they want to try and claim it is. Nope. And they said, we will not comment on any input, notes or feedback from Jeff Bezos, says McKay, as though reading a prepared statement. We can only say we're very lucky that he's a fan of it. This inadvertently conjures up an image of Bezos tapping away in the writer's room. Okay, I say, trying to clarify what's being said. So does that mean he's not involved creatively? You gotta ask him, replies McKay. Everything about everything just there is just so retarded and stupid. This really is why we call them Dumb and Dumber. Does Jeff Bezos give you any input? And does he have any creative input? Oh, we don't know. You'd have to ask him. We don't comment on this. That means 100% yes. Yes, they do. They absolutely get notes from Jeff Bezos, which is hilarious. Sophia Nomvet sitting there saying, it was hard being attacked and everything else, but she's so happy that she was out in the battlefield and she wears the scars with pride. And yet she's sitting there. She's trying to say we're the toxic ones, and yet she apparently must be feeding her child some crap if her child has to turn around and say, Mammy, I want to be white so I can look like that character. That makes no sense. That's just lunacy. And of course, they're talking about her attacking fan base, saying, oh, we got so much hate because of our colour of our skin. These idiots saying the internet does breed toxic behaviour. All this crap. Because your show sucked, didn't stick to the lore, invented new crap that made no sense, and just nobody wanted it, asked for it, and it's hated. And season 2 ain't gonna be much better. So, what's your bold plan? Well, so do exactly what you did in season 1. Attack the fan base, call them racist, bigot, sexist, all the crap, before your garbage show comes out. Can't wait to see how that works out for you again. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.